One of the questions which the Me Too movement has always wanted answered: how did powerful men for so long manage to get away with indecent or criminal behaviour? Tonight, two people who worked for the man whose alleged crimes started Me Too, Harvey Weinstein, have told Sky News their stories. One said that naivety wasn't an excuse and that the behaviour had seemed shrug-offable. And both said Weinstein's brother Bob, with whom he ran his company, was aware of his behaviour. A lawyer leading a class action against Harvey Weinstein says the number of women he targeted could be near 1,000. A warning that our US correspondent Hannah Thomas-Peters' report contains sexual language.
Bob and Harvey Weinstein worked together for decades, building an entertainment empire that started with their first company, Miramax. After Harvey was accused by dozens of women of sexual harassment and assault, Bob insisted he didn't know the extent of his brother's alleged behaviour. Now, two former employees, speaking on camera for the first time, say that's hard to believe. Michael Apostolina, who was head of creative affairs at Miramax, says that nearly 30 years ago, a serious allegation emerged and was widely discussed amongst the staff.
After 1990-91, there's no way they could not have known, because a lawsuit was delivered to the office. It was disseminated verbally about what the contents of this lawsuit were, which was that he had sexually attacked or molested an intern. And it all made sense because this young woman, she had worked there for a while. She was very, very young, very eager, and one day just poof, she vanished. Everybody started talking about it, and more started coming out. So we knew, everybody knew, everybody knew.
People might listen to these stories and say, you had a responsibility to do something.
I did.
And you didn't?
And I didn't.
Why not?
That's a difficult question to answer. I want to fall back on, I was in my early 20s and it was naivete, but that's not really an excuse. It's not that we didn't have a concept of sexual harassment, but we didn't know what to do with it. This is terrible, but this is what I did. It seemed shrug-offable, you know.
Kathy DeClesis was Bob Weinstein's assistant at the time. Up until the lawsuit arrived, she thought Harvey's behaviour was distasteful, but nothing more.
You would see something out of the corner of your eye when you're running down a hallway, like Harvey flirting with a new blonde receptionist out at the front. And you're like, okay, so he's just being a weasel, you know, whatever. But never did I ever think that there was more than that going on. He was just being kind of lecherous, you know, cheating on his wife.
But then she opened the letter from the intern's lawyers.
Of course, it enraged me, so I was completely and utterly disgusted and furious and just completely disgusted.
After an argument with Bob, she left.
And I said, you know what, I quit, and your brother is a pig.
Kathy's been angered by Bob's claims that he didn't know the extent of Harvey's alleged behaviour and says it's inconceivable to her that a settlement happened without Bob's involvement.
Do you think that Bob knew what his brother might have been doing behind closed doors?
Well, he certainly knew when I handed him the letter that came from the law office. Harvey got a letter, Bob got a letter. Bob knew, of course he knew.
Bob Weinstein and others are now being sued in a class action lawsuit that, in part, alleges they knew about Harvey Weinstein's pattern of predatory sexual conduct towards women and failed to stop him. The lawyer leading the case says that failure had devastating consequences.
How many women do you think Harvey Weinstein may have targeted?
We're talking about hundreds. I think it could be near 1,000. I think that based on what we know and what has already been made public, at least 150 women have come forward in some way. On top of that, we have employees who said that there were women in his office 3 times a week where they would have to go in and clean up after him, knowing that he had just done something and ejaculated. So if you're talking about 3 times a week, at least, for all the number of years that he's been in power at Miramax and the Weinstein Company, that's a lot of women.
In a statement, Bob Weinstein said, "As I have previously stated, I had no knowledge that Harvey was sexually assaulting or harassing women prior to the media reports last year detailing his alleged misconduct. These allegations relate to alleged misconduct by Harvey that would have occurred at least 28 years ago, and I have absolutely no recollection of the incident in question." Harvey Weinstein, who also faces criminal charges, denies all allegations of non-consensual sexual conduct. Hannah Thomas-Peter, Sky News in New York.